I'd like to go over a few things that I'm at like a 20-year or so deal of what went on. Just a small glimpse of what went on with myself and family, whatever. And just maybe that will help someone, give them perspective, put stuff in perspective, or just have them relate to a glimpse. I'm not focusing on a bunch of stuff. I just want to do a small little snippet. But anyways, I'll start. From 99 to 2004, living in apartments, just living in society. I mean, working full-time for the most part, paying bills, whatever, going out to eat, just doing what, you normally do, paying for cable or satellite type of deal, just, living your day-by-day deals. And no gold, no silver, no, anything like that, assets to say, and no land, whatever, just got your vehicle and an apartment, just, your few things in your room and your apartment deal. That's it. All right, so we're at 2004 to 2010. We got the first home. This is our first home. All right, so 2007 made first silver purchase. Very first silver purchase, and I remember, I think 2006 when I got interested in it and looking into it, maybe in 2005, just to go back on that. I really started reading books. I didn't read prior to really 2005 at all. Anything that, other than what I was forced to in government schools, public school. And at that, I just did whatever little bit I had to pass a test. So read out of textbooks. I questioned a bunch of stuff that's in textbooks, but anyways, that's a different story. But also, if you get assignments for fictional books that you have in English or whatever, then they would assign, you get a book report or whatever. I read the minimal, the smallest amount that I had to pass. And by pass, we're talking D minus, D, something pass, something that's not an F, maybe a C minus at the best. And that's, because I could care less about fiction. So anyways, about 2005, 2006 is really the first time I really started reading. And I say reading, I'll go back in high school, I read stuff, but the only thing I really read was something I was interested in. If it was music or whatever I was interested in, I would read that, the magazines, whatever. But also, then in high school, for my lunch, I would eat as fast as I could. Then I would go to the library, and whatever time I had left, 15 minutes, 20 minutes left of the lunch break, I would read through dictionaries, the dictionary they had there, or encyclopedias. Just pull, a letter or whatever it was, or a section within a letter or whatever, and just read through encyclopedias. I just found that interesting, intriguing, because I liked learning. Okay, so that's where I was at with the stuff they were pushing on you. And high school, government schools, was fiction for the most part. And I could care less, really. So anyways, going back to that, so I started reading these books and getting intrigued and interested. Then I was looking into how am I going to buy gold or silver. I didn't have really much money, but I was like, I had no idea. I was like, how can I get this kind of stuff? So I called the bank. We belonged to a credit union and a bank and that kind of stuff back then. And so I called them and I said, could I buy some gold or some silver? And they were like, no, we don't have that, sir. And we have silver coins. They're coins, but they're silver looking, they're flashy, that kind of stuff, like quarters and dimes. I said, no, I want, 1 troy ounce silver stuff and like that. They're like, they didn't understand what I was talking about. And then I asked about gold, they still didn't understand. So then I called a couple of credit unions we belonged to, and then a couple banks. So I called a few other, places we belonged to. And finally, one of the people, I think this is my third phone call and my fourth phone call to a branch, and the lady I was talking to there that was talking nice enough to help me along, she's like, well, no, we don't have, banks don't have that, credit unions don't have that kind of stuff, but I know my brother sort of, invests, he call it invest in that, or buys that kind of stuff. So I know you can't do that through banks and that kind of stuff, but I know you have to find certain places or certain ways. I don't know if it's some sort of dealership or something like that, and that's all she knew. So I was like, okay, so that was that. So but anyway, so I'm learning about this stuff through these books, and when I start reading, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and Creature from Jekyll Island, and all this stuff that I could get my hands on back then, and so then anyways, long story short, I finally bought my first silver in 2007, first silver purchase. So then we had a quarter acre of land. Basically, it was we had our house that we bought. Our house wasn't a quarter acre of land, and so then start searching and reading about money and the reality of things beyond money, but everything revolves around money. So 2010, 2014, we're in the same first home on the same quarter acre plot, we're going to call it, in a development there. And then we decided to put in a little garden. So we put a 4x8 foot garden, just dirt soil garden, and that was that. I think we had that for a year. And then come the next year, then we expanded it, made it larger. So we made it, I believe it was something like 16 feet by 8 feet, And so then we started making a larger garden. We did that for a while there, and I think it was 2012 to 2015. We had that size of a garden. We're learning that kind of stuff and about the deals on that, and bringing in soil and dirt and fertilizer, how to do that, and your Miracle-Gro, and get to fence things off, and what you do with some of the bugs, and that kind of stuff. And then 2015, we're still in the same home. Then we bought 22 acres of raw land. We were looking and searching for it for a while, so we actually found some raw land that wasn't by us. It was a ways away, and we bought it. And the idea was that we're going to build on it. So anyways, and we would take our time, every week and every other week, and we'd go out there on the land and just hang out. It's like, wow, we own this. It was crazy. And 2016, we finally built a house on that land, on the 22 acres, and we created a small pond on the land, and dug some area there, and it was a higher water table there, so it took a little bit, and it filled over time. Not all the time. Sometimes it was really low and that kind of stuff, depending on the seasons, that deal. And then we created a very, very large garden. I don't even know the deal. It was significantly big. I only know is we used roughly, we didn't do a soil garden there. We did a hay bale garden. We learned that. We started doing that. And I believe we used 60 hay bales or straw bales, whatever you want to call it. Some were here, some were there, depending on the deal. But and then at the same time, sorry about that, and someone on. But anyways, I'm back. So we that same time we planted a couple plum trees at, like, I think 4. We learned about how they cross-pollinate, what you need to have for the plum trees and that kind of stuff. But anyways, and then 2019 to 2021, we're still in the same home on the same 22 acres. We acquired a coop and 11 egg-laying hens, 11 chickens. And that was from someone my wife knew, and they had to get rid of them because of something with their place they're living and the county and whatever. Long story short, she's like, we got to go, we got to move on, we got to get rid of this for whatever reason. It was a neighbor thing. But anyways, we ended up purchasing that from them and moving it all over and transferring everything. And then we were like, now we're brand new to the chicken thing. We had to learn about all that and the legging and taking care of it and that kind of stuff. So then now we're at 2021. 2021, we moved to a lower tax state. So we moved out of the state completely. And brought those same 11 chickens. Actually, I think we had one less because we lost one of them through just nature, that kind of stuff. So we had 10 chickens that we brought along with the coop and stuff. So we hauled all that with all the belongings, whatever, into a different state. And we bought a home, and with with some land and some acreage, comparable to the 22 acres we just were leaving. And it had a very, very large pond. Some people referred to it as a very small lake. Anyways, that's neither here or there. And so that was that. And then 2022, now, currently, this year, same home, still, in the much for your state type deal. We fenced in, a while back. We fenced in some acreage. We bought a couple cows, and we're dealing with that deal. So so now, looking back from 1999 to 2004, that whole span of 5 years, basically, we had no gold, no silver, no real assets, no land. We're just a vehicle, just living and striving and trying to get by, that kind of stuff. And now, you think about it, it's like, well, just not bragging, not saying this stuff to make people feel bad, to say, oh, woe is me, that kind of stuff. Just saying this, just give people a scope of just things, how it takes a long time. Progress, as long as stuff, is kept at and you keep going, you may not see changes overnight. You may not see changes in weeks. You may not see changes in months. Sometimes you might not see changes in years, really. But it's happening. As long as you're preparing and you're preserving and you're working towards stuff. That's why I'm trying to say this stuff. But anyway, so if you just look back at that time to now it's all this learning that's been done. Now with the chickens, we have something over 2 dozen chickens, egg laying chickens and roosters and that whole deal, and coops and whatever. And now we got some cows that we're learning about and going through that deal, and that's a whole process itself. And we've been looking into, I know we've looked into other stuff. We've looked into maybe goats, maybe doing bees. How do you raise bees? How do you do that kind of deal and stuff? And I know this kind of stuff isn't everyone's cup of tea, whatever, and that's fine. I'm just saying, whatever it is that if you're passionate about it, which we never were at all, really, but it's just we've become accustomed to it because out of a form of need. We feel it's going to be needed. It's going to be something that if we hadn't done it, we wish, we would have wished we did. It's like if I wasn't doing this back then, when I really didn't care about it, whatever the thing is, and then you look back 10 years later or 20 years, later, you look back those 10 years, do you look back those 20 years and like, if I would have just started doing that, even though I didn't want to do it back then, even though it wasn't flashy, even though it wasn't the end thing to do, even though it wasn't, grand and great, if I wouldn't just looked into it, just started doing it a little bit, I'd be so much further. I would be so much more, whether that's asset building, that's, I can't think of any other examples on what that would be, asset building, just building up your community, building up your family, building up your family relationships, whatever it is, that type of deal. It's just, maybe it's about health. Maybe it's about your family's health. Maybe it's about, your health yourself, whatever. I'm just saying, don't take this the wrong way. Just look at it and just trying to give you a little scope of things take time. And it's not all pretty. It's not all wonderful. A lot's hard. But a lot is very rewarding if you stick with it. I hope this, proves or shows you there's a flash, there's a value to things that you're doing that are purposeful, that are helping people, that are making it so you're able and available to help people, your community, your relatives, your friends, whatever. And also with that in mind, I've made mistakes, and I've made big mistakes, and they've cost a lot, whether it's just, on the dollar sense, the money sense, or the hardship sense, the blood, sweat, and tears type deal. And, I could still continue to make mistakes, but they are a lot fewer and a lot smaller and a lot less. And not saying they're going to go away. There might be some large ones there, but I'm just saying, if you just stick at stuff like this, just looking back, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but looking back from that 1999 to 2004, those 5 years there, even before that, I don't even count those because I was still a kid. I was out of high school, before that too, some years, but still, I was still a kid. But from 99 to 2004, I was not a kid. I for sure fully was not a kid. Child, if you want to call it that. They just seemed like 5 years that I could have done something. I should have went towards something. I should have read something. I should have learned something more. As soon as I got out of school, I lost my lunch hour. I lost my study halls when I used to go in the library and read encyclopedias and that kind of stuff. Those 5 years I wasn't doing that because I didn't have access to it. Well, actually, I did have access to it. There's libraries, that kind of stuff. I could have went out and purchased books at a used bookstore, but I didn't. I was just doing whatever was the norm in society, watching the TV, watching whatever, hanging out with whatever, doing the bar scene, doing the whatever scene, doing the, nightlife scene at times, and, that's what it was. And right or wrong, I'm just saying, those 5 years just seem like they could have been so much more productive. I'm trying to put the scope out there just so hopefully people get something and say, hey, if I'm stuck in that rut, maybe I want to do something now. Maybe I want to start small. Maybe I want to start large. Maybe I want to get out of it. Or if you're not, great. If you're beyond that, awesome. But the reason for this is if you see this 20-year little flash on just these little things that I'm talking about, this isn't the whole picture, it's a small scope. Maybe this will help someone somewhere or think about something differently. But anyways, as always, I thank you for watching. If you like this, like, share, subscribe, and stay vigilant. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your wealth.